Utilities and Roading Committee meeting on this very wet and horrible day. Could I please ask if there's any apologies? Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Williams?
No apologies.
Okay, whether we just go on to conflicts of interest? None? Confirmation of minutes. Are there any comments from the last confirmation of minutes before we have a mover and seconder? Good. So, moved Councillor Bryan, seconded Councillor Redmond. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any matters arising from those minutes? 3.3, notes of a workshop of the Utilities and Roading Committee held on Tuesday, 15th of July. Do we have a mover and a seconder that receives these notes? Moved Councillor, good morning, Healings, and seconded Councillor Williams. All those in favour, please say aye. That's fine. Deputations and presentations, there are none. And now we go to reports. Further information report for Kaiapoi and Pine Acres Cycleway. Could we please welcome Kieran and Joanne? Good morning.
Thank you. So if we can, it would be good to take reports under 5.1 and 7.1 together as they relate to the same issue. So a little bit of the background around this. This is in relation to a post-construction update which went to the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board in July and provided feedback. Part of the original report which went to the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board in April this year was to approve a design for the connection between Kaiapoi and Pine Acres. That design was approved, but as part of that approval, the Community Board asked that staff go away and complete consultation which had been started at the time on Old North Road and the proposed traffic calming that was included along that road, and also consider an option around a cycle connection alongside Eki and over the Ekan floodgate. So the report under 7.1 was a follow-up of that. So it was the report which brought the design back to the Community Board, and it provided the consultation feedback, and it also had a revised design for Old North Road, which effectively reduced the number of Watts profile speed humps in that section by about 8 from memory here.
It had originally allowed for 16, so it was easier. It was by 8.
Yeah, thank you. And at the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board meeting, there was quite a lot of discussion around the connection to Saidiki. So the design that staff had recommended in the report 7.1 was to continue with the connection across Williams Street at Charles Street and connect to the stop bank there. What the Community Board ended up moving was an alternative recommendation that took the route down Saidiki and across the floodgate down to Smith Street to the west of the existing Smith Street Bridge. So the report in 5.1 is to provide further information for Utilities and Roading Committee to help inform the decision around the route that is proposed. So the report 5.1 outlines the difference in the distances between two options. So, excuse me, just let me bring this up. So there is a route assessment included within the report. And you'll see from the, I think it's at page 24 in Diligent, the alternate route will be longer. And an alternative design is attached to the report, which includes a crossing point on Smith Street and what that would need to look like if that option was to be progressed. One thing we would note is Sidey Quay would require some traffic calming along the length of it to support what would effectively be a neighbourhood greenway. We haven't carried out consultation with Sidey Quay residents at this time. That was not part of the original route which was proposed, and therefore there's a recommendation within the report 5.1 which asks that if option 2 is progressed, then staff would need to go out and consult, and that would require the delegation of the installation of that section of the greenway to be confirmed by management team as part of the tender award process, and that's just due to the timing around needing to get this construction out to the market intended and underway. Kieran, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think you've covered everything really well.
I think, sorry, just one more note. Looking at the summary agenda, with the recommendations for the report 5.1, it has an either or option, where option 1 is to stay with the staff recommended option on Grant Fairley Street, or it provides an alternative option 2, which is the Kaiapoi to Ihiwi Community Board route over the Cam River floodgates. And if option 2 was progressed, it would need to include recommendations D through to I as part of option 2 approval. Whereas if it was option 1 only, then it would only require J to be moved with the recommendation. I guess in terms of staff opinion on whether one route is better over the other, I think both routes have merits, and originally in the staff report we had said that the route via Sidey Quay is very attractive for cyclists coming from the Passchendaele path if they're wanting to head north up to Woodend, and if they are coming from Kaiapoi heading up to Pine Acres, it's a slightly longer detour route round and to connect onto Sidey Quay. Ultimately in the future I think it would be great to have both those connections in place. But yeah, so happy to take any questions. Sorry, and I know this is very complicated with 2 reports associated with it.
Right, do we have any questions? Councillor Redmond?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. Perhaps, Kieran, the speed humps, sometimes referred to as speed cushions, are there any speed cushions remaining on the Old North Road in this proposal?
No. The proposal approved in April did include one speed cushion outside the Kaiapoi mill, I think it was, but that's since been removed, and along with the others along Old North Road. One thing that we probably should note is that within the recommendations of this report there is still one Watts profile, so that's the same as Paraki Street, at the Lees Road intersection, and should option 1 be selected, there's one at the Charles Street intersection as well.
Right, thank you. Yeah, those cushions are universally popular. Are there any cost implications between the green route and the orange route?
There's a very minor cost discrepancy, about $8,000 between them. So in the scheme of the whole $965,000 budget, they're very, very similar in cost, and they both fit within budget.
Right. Joanne mentioned you haven't had consultation with the Sidey Key residents. How are you proposing to address that, should that option be preferred?
We would organise some comms to go out pretty soon for the Sidey Key residents to gather their feedback, and then the recommendations within the report in 5.1 does allow management team, or delegates the approval to management team to make a decision around Sidey Key once we have the information available for us, that feedback from the community.
And finally, what would be the cost of doing both routes?
To complete both routes would be around about $300,000. So there is no costs between these two that is required for the alternative option. So 100% of each option would be required, and we would not be able to fit that within the budget.
Right. Do you see any problem with the orange route, given that it's looks like a long loop rather than the shortest, most obvious route in terms of usage? Is there any sort of modelling or predictions which route would be more popular?
So there's been no modelling, but staff had primarily chosen option 1 because of its direct line through to the Kaipoi town centre, whereas option 2 has the direct line through to the start of the Passchendaele path. So there's a bit of a triangle there, which, as Joanne mentioned, would be great to have both options, so depending on where you're going, but also keeping in mind that neither option prevents a cyclist from using the alternative either way.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Mealings.
Thank you. Could you just perhaps walk us through why the community board, what their thinking was with the orange one connecting it to the Passchendaele? So at the moment, does the Passchendaele track just kind of leave off at the end there, or?
Yeah. So the Passchendaele path, the shared path effectively ends at the Mafeking Bridge. There are other path connections. There's currently a footpath that goes around and under the Smith Street Bridge, but it's not a designated shared path, so it's a narrow width, and the path that does go under the bridge during some high tides is underwater. There's currently a crossing at the road on Smith Street, so pedestrians can cross at the road currently, but there's no pedestrian refuge or safe waiting place in the middle of the road for someone to cross. So there's a real advantage in getting a pedestrian refuge there as well. I think the community board did feel that the orange route would be a desire line. That was certainly the opinion that I got from the discussion.
Was it a desire line from the Passchendaele path, though?
I don't think. Oh no, I think they were talking about connecting to the town centre, weren't they?
Yeah, it was more about connecting to the town centre, but the distances in the table within the report show that option 1 is the shorter by quite some distance. So there might be a perception that that was the desire line to get to the town centre.
I'm just trying to understand sort of what the reasoning behind the board's thinking was here. Because isn't the purpose of this path to connect Woodend to Kaiapoi, and especially like Woodend Township to Kaiapoi High School, for instance? So in your view, if we were to take the orange route over the green, would that be more favoring a slightly different overall route rather than actually connecting up to Woodend?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and
Sorry,
I
was that
think
a curly
part
one?
of it, part of it really does depend on where you're coming from, and if you are heading north from, say, tram road, so heading north, then there are definitely arguments for both, and to be honest, I don't think having either would be a bad outcome. As Kieran mentioned, I think if you're coming north, either from the town centre or from the existing path, so coming up Whakari Street, then straight across the Mandeville Bridge and up the stop bank to Ramfurley Street is definitely the most direct. If you are coming from Rangiora and trying to do a loop that gets you back around to the Woodend path, then the orange option is by far the more desirable and attractive. So, as I said, I would love to see both done ultimately, because I think that would provide the best outcome for the community. We had originally recommended A because of its directness, but the community board would like to see option B.
I guess I'm just cognizant of the original purpose of this path was to connect Woodend to Kaiapoi, not Passchendaele to Kaiapoi. But I understand, I like the idea of having two as well, but I'm just trying to net out really what the implications are on the Woodend route. How much would it cost to just put a pedestrian refuge in the middle of the road for Route B, but go with A?
A pedestrian refuge on its own line marking would probably be about 30 or 40,000, I think, but the risk would be you end up pulling it out in a short space of time to replace it with a cycle compliant one anyway. So
did you say 40?
Potentially around that, yeah. There are other implications with B as well, in that we'll need to move 2 bus stops that are currently located pretty much right at those crossing points to allow the pedestrian refuge to be installed.
And that's the B.
Yes, will be, yeah.
So, summing up then, we need to make B happen, we have to move 2 bus stops, put in a refuge, and undertake some consultation with residents.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Yeah.
That's a tough one. All right.
Sorry, and I also believe part of the reasoning that the Kaiapoi Community Board preferred B was they've got a desire to do some further works at the Charles Street intersection in the future, which Joe might have some more information on.
Yeah, there has been a request from the board to consider the option of one-way in Charles Street in the future. At this stage, we haven't done any work around what that might look like. There is an existing pedestrian refuge on Smith Street at Ramfurley Street on the eastern side of the intersection. That if we were to go with A, we had included removing and widening that pedestrian refuge to accommodate cyclists. So we'll need to do some work up by the end.
Okay. Thank you. Far be it for me to ever go against a board's wishes. I just really wanted to understand, and it's unfortunate that there are no board members from Kaiapoi here today, beside this fella here sits on the Woodend one, and I don't know if you were in the meeting. Were you in the meeting for this one? So, but does that kind of capture the gist of?
I think
Thanks, I've got a further question.
You know, we'll
Yeah,
just
all
wait
right
for
then,
your
thank you.
further question, councillor Redmond. Councillor Bryan, you have a question?
Yeah, well, mine's sort of touching on that a little bit. Unfair question, probably to staff. What were the numbers? Was it 100, 80, 20, 70, 30? Were they unanimous on B?
I believe so, yes.
On the screen and just go over it, but it's fine on here, but it would be just helpful to.
Right, so there we go. We'll just wait for a moment for that. Councillor Redmond, while we're waiting for that, do you have another question before Mayor Dan?
Yes, I was just going to ask, would it be fair to say the board's main concern was the crossing at Smith and Charles Street? And you just referred to that in response to Councillor Newlands. Was that the main reason for the alternative route, do you consider?
If that is the case, that's not the reason I picked up on. I guess I got the impression that because ECAN are doing the work on the floodgate, that there was an opportunity that they wanted to seize that opportunity and take full advantage of it. I certainly didn't get the impression that there was a desire to not, or that the intersection at Smith and Ramsbury was the reason to not do the work. Not sure, have you had a different take on that?
I'm sorry, I was trying to get,
Two things at once.
yeah, my apologies.
Well, Councillor Atkinson, when he, I think, moved the change, it was my impression that his main concern, notwithstanding what ECAN were doing, was the traffic safety implications of the route A across Smith and Charles Street. Seem to figure. That's my recollection, I could be wrong.
I think, so the design, when it was originally put together, did go through a safety review process, and it had been designed to meet current standards, and I don't believe it would be inherently any less safe than a crossing point further down the road.
Thank you.
So is this the map you were wanting?
Yeah, it was just,
Could you just so we're clear?
Do you want to come up here?
No, I don't want to put, because
it's probably just
to have to do more than me, but thank you. Just to understand the main
differences, please, and because the cost differences don't appear to be that great on the estimates here that I've picked up. I'm just trying to gather and get my own head clear on. I don't want to go against the board's recommendation either.
No.
So I just want to be clear that, you know, for the staff recommendation versus board, that's not unusual. Happens. And is there a discomfort from staff? Apologies, I wasn't here in the earlier part of when it was being presented on what's being proposed.
So I think staff's, when the original staff report was put together, the reason that one of the primary reasons for recommending the green route was because of the directness of it. And there is a high likelihood that people would use this route anyway, because it is shorter. If they are coming from south or from Tram Road up, it's an easy across the Mandeville footbridge along the Stock Bank and then walk across Ramsbury Street. If they're heading from Kaiapoi to Pine Acres and potentially onto Wood End. And the orange route is around just over half a kilometre longer. So from a desire line, people who are wanting to just go through as quickly as possible would be more likely to use A. And that was the rationale that staff had used when we had put the original route recommendations together. It is obviously a different argument if you're coming from Passchendaele, and as part of the introduction, Mayor Dan, I had suggested that in the future, irrespective of which route we are to choose today, there are real benefits in completing this triangle, because if you're coming from Woodend down to Kaiapoi Town Centre and then onto the Christchurch Northern Corridor, then A is a very attractive direct route. However, if you're trying to do the loop between Rangiora, Kaiapoi, Woodend and home, then this section through Saidiki and of course the Ekan Stop Bank is also very attractive. People always do tend to look for the shortest route where possible. So I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think both will work. It would be good to, I think, in the future see the triangle completed.
Joe?
If I may, I know it's nothing to do with me, but seeing I live in the area, if students were coming from Kaiapoi High, the orange route would definitely be
Yes.
the preferred option. And given that the students from Kaiapoi High and Woodend was one of the drivers for the board to get a cycle lane, I think that might play into their decision originally.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you very much.
I'm prepared to test the meeting with the recommendation, Madam Chair, which is the KTCB.
Do we have a seconder for that? All right, well, you have a question, Councillor Williams?
Just from that statement there, we heard from the principal of the Rangiora High School about there's only 11 students out of 1,800 ride their bikes to school these days. Have we got statistics what kids are biking to the schools in Kaiapoi as well? Because that was a wee bit of a concern. I couldn't believe the Rangiora one, by the way.
No, I don't have.
Maybe the answer for that would be if there was a cycleway provided, they would use it more. They would be able to safely travel to school via the cycleway.
Yeah, we do have, we have, and I can circulate the statistics for the Northern Corridor path. So from memory, we were seeing, actually I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but there are literally thousands of people using that bridge on a monthly basis, coming across from and backwards and forwards both ways. So, and I think part of this, the community boards definitely had also commuter cyclists in mind, not only school students. There's also recreational use at the weekends, people who are out and about, and we see that a lot. Around the CAFs in Kaiapoi, where we have a lot of cycle parking occurring and requests for additional cycle stands. So, yeah.
You know, that was just my actual thoughts as well. With probably more likely to be recreational people in my area, but you know, there is a cycle proper route to Rangiora High School, so and it's not being used by school children at the moment.
Thank you. Now, you'd like to test the move?
Test the meeting with the recommendation as per the first part, which was
option 2.
Which Kaiapoi 2. It's in the, you have to go to the report summary. It's in the first one in the recommendation. Yes.
So just to confirm.
It's that one there at the top.
So yes,
Which is option 2, Saidiki, is that right?
I'm just being clear, which is, if I'm to adopt Kaiapoi to a Heavy Community Board's recommendations, we've got the one at the top. Do we also need part of the end? Is that right?
yes, so we need the, as well as the first, is the recommendations from the report in 5.1, which has to receive the report, notes the previous report, and then has an either or, so option 1 Ranfurly Street or option 2 Saidiki. And with the option 2, we would need to move recommendations D through to I, because that includes the notes around the Sidey Key route and the Cam River floodgate, and then delegates the approval for the installation of the neighbourhood greenway to the management team.
So I'm just a little unclear because in the summary, do we move the top piece? And then which piece do we move beyond that if we're to adopt that?
Yeah, look, just, so to make it clear, you would move that top piece that's there.
Yes.
And in addition to that, if we can scroll down, you would move A, B, option 2 of C, and then D through 2.
Right, Jack, I'm clear on that. I'm happy to move that.
I'm happy to second that as well. Are there any?
Just speaking to it, look, I've listened to the questions, which are all very good, and to try and gain an understanding of why there was a difference, I guess, of what's recommended, and I'm clear on that now. It takes a lot for me to vote against the board's recommendations, so I think they've considered that, and this is their preferred option. It matters in the scheme of things with the budget so little difference. Both either option, it's slightly more to adopt the board's position according to what the financial analysis shows. But there are broader benefits there, and I appreciated Kay perhaps just giving that greater insight there, because that was missing from that, and that was helpful to me to hear. I am aware in Kaiapoi particularly, especially with the North School and then the high school, I've seen the kids use those routes, and I don't know what the cycle statistics are or aren't, but there are a lot of walking that use those tracks now, and I think that would be of greater benefit to the broader network that we've got here. So on balance, I'm persuaded that that's the answer, and happy to support the board's recommendation.
Thank you. Right, I also think that it was a really difficult one. I'd like to see both, but maybe we can do stage 2 later on and complete it. But I think the overall, I think we should take notice of the Kaiapoi Community Board and support what they think. They're the people that live there, and so they really. I understand that that's my preference as well. Councillor Mealings, you'd like to say something?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree. This was quite tricky, actually, but community board's another community. That's why we have them. And had Kay not said what she said about the route to Kaiapoi High School, yeah, I would have still been wondering. So I do really appreciate that feedback in absence of having anyone from the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board in here today. The original purpose of this was to connect Woodend to Kaiapoi High School, and we've had many presentations to annual plans and long-term plans asking for this over the years, which is why we're trying to do it. So I know that it'll be used, and all you have to do is look at the amount of people that come in over the bridge and go back and forth on weekends and that to see how many cyclists there are out there, particularly in and around Kaiapoi and whatnot. The fact that this newly proposed route actually ties up the Passchendaele and goes north to Woodend, I think is probably the best of both worlds. So it's in a way, I guess, having our cake and eating it too, until we can actually at some point in the future, perhaps look again at adding the other route if there is seen to be a need for it at that time. But yeah, I'm happy to support the board's recommendation, and it'll be good to actually get this piece of the puzzle completed. So happy to support. Thank you.
Councillor Williams and then Councillor Redmond.
Yes, I think we're obliged to really support the community board's recommendations. That's all.
Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. I attended the meeting, and my initial inclination was to go with the staff recommendation, which was the shortest route with, it seemed to me, the desire line. But I think it really comes down to where you're going. And I am I'm not opposed to either route in actual fact, but I also was persuaded a wee bit that we had overlooked the purpose of this route primarily, the wood end to Kaiapoi link for kids who may want to bike to school. So I'll support the recommendation, but I wouldn't have been opposed to the other option either. And having said that, I'm pleased that you are in support of supporting the community board, because there is another matter coming up later where the community board had a strong view and this committee overruled that decision. The matter has now re-emerged by way of a letter, so I'm hoping that this committee may remember the words of this discussion. Thank you.
Oh dear. Any other comments? I'll put that to the vote, so...
I don't wish to exercise right.
Oh, sorry,
That's right.
that's right. All right, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne, and thank you, Kieran, for all your work. That's really good.
Point K.
Yes, thank you, Kay. That was very, very good information. Thank you. Now we go to 5.2 Cam River Enhancement Fund proposed projects and update by Sophie and Kelly.
Morning, Nicola. Right, we have here a report that's a report for decision, which is the purpose is to look at projects for the next financial year, but it also provides a summary of completed projects since the last report in November 2023. And there are some outstanding projects that have still been approved and will be carried out. And there are a couple of projects that couldn't be completed, which were detailed, and there are the reasons why. So the 4 projects that are proposed, we have a control trial for Cape Pondweed, which is a new weed emerging, with DOC listing it as an environmental weed last year, and Fish Passage project at Cotter Lane, which is near the Northbrook Ponds, emptying of sediment traps, and some fine seedling removals on the South Brook, which are planted on Esplanade Reserve and then replacement with natives. So I'm happy to take questions for the report, and just to note that there is a recommendation to seek the approval from DOC and Fish and Game for these projects before they are carried out because of the conditions of the Cam River Enhancement Fund.
Right, are there any questions? Oh, Sophie. Oh, hello, Tim.
Emerged. Well, mate, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question, without having seen the details of the Fish Passage project, but more just generally, there's a lack of clarity, I understand, from what we've been to drainage committee meetings about the Fish Passage regulations, size, specifications, what ECAN really want. What, you know, have we resolved any of that uncertainty? Because it sort of seems like,
The uncertainty might be coming from, so there are Fish Passage guidelines, which actually have been adopted in the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management 2020. They were adopted as, not as guidelines, but as to be implemented. And now there's a version 2, which is also what should be followed. But I believe the government's reviewing whether they should be obligatory. So I think there's that people are anticipating there might be a change. So that might be.
Or a question is, if we build something and then find it's not compliant, like it's obviously happened to one of our people out the Oxford Way on a private piece of property, they just don't know anymore as to whether it's compliant once it's built. It's sort of...
Yes, it's probably about how the Fish Passage guidelines are being applied, and guidelines being how they should be applied, but being applied inconsistently.
Any further questions of Sophie? Doesn't appear to be, so we seem to be all very happy with that. So could we have a mover and a seconder, please? Movers, Councillor Bryan, seconded Councillor Mealings. Wish to speak, Councillor Bryan.
Just very briefly, you know, as obviously I was around when the Cam River Enhancement Fund was created, and it's good to see it being put to the uses that council all hoped that it would be, and we're very lucky to have passionate staff driving projects such as these. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Mealings.
I don't think I can beat that. Yeah, it's great to see this fund being used for the reason that it was intended, and there looks like some good projects in there, so well done, thank you.
Any other further comments? Right, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Thank you, Sophie.
Right, on to the next.
The next one, of course, is the private well study results for 2024. Thank you.
So this is a report for information, which I do bring to this committee annually. It's a result of, so there was a recommendation in the Zone Implementation Programme Addendum, ZIPA, which started in 2019 to carry out a private well study. It started first at Earton and Cust, and then we added in Carlton and Swannanoa a couple of years later. So some interesting points of this past year study for 2024 was that Earton was slightly lower than it has been in the past, and so it just was under the limit that's in Plan Change 7 of the Land and Water Regional Plan, whereas in previous years it has sort of fluctuated around that limit, but it was just this year it was just below. So Cust is the area that is technically still above the limit that we're seeking in the Land and Water Regional Plan. Carlton and Swannanoa are below, and consistently below. I did detail briefly a study that ECAN did last year as well in the spring of 2024, where they looked at wells in Airwell. I couldn't present the full results because they haven't actually presented those themselves yet. So it's just a very high level which they agreed to that I could present in this report here. And there were wells, I think it was 41% were over the half of a MAV limit, which so indicating that there are issues in the Airwell area as well, with private drinking well and nitrate levels. Attached to the report is the Managing a Private Well Supply booklet that's been updated, and it is in final draft form, so happy to take any comments on that today before it's finalised, or any other questions.
Tim?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you again for the ongoing work there, Sophie and team. I noticed the commentary in 1.11, I think it is that a very weak correlation was found between the increasing well depth and decreasing nitrate levels, the correlation there. And yet a lot of our advice, so how do we reconcile that with our advice that if you're on a private well, if you're a shallow well, that you should be extra attentive? That's kind of the conversation that's actually out there, and yet is it fair to say that doesn't necessarily sort of ring true?
It would ring true for E. coli, so microbiological contamination, usually deeper wells.
E. coli, but not nitrate.
Yeah, so nitrate, that's important. Yeah, so basically saying that going deeper doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to have nitrate. It's particularly depending on where you're getting your water from. You know, so if you had farming in your area where you're getting your water from 50 years ago, or whenever there was 20, 30, or how fast that water's moving through. But yeah, even if your well is deeper, if you're getting your water from somewhere it's 20 years old and it's coming from a farming area or upstream, then you can get nitrate. Yes.
But just secondary is that if you were to take sort of mitigation steps and you were the well was coming to the end of its life, not necessarily a case of trying to sink a new and deeper well, that's only part of the conversation, is that right?
Yeah, we do generally advise deeper, also for supply, regularity of supply. Like I said, microbiological reasons to go deeper. I mean, our supply, and also something to think about with private wells is what we talk about as being deep often isn't that deep. It might be, a deep well might be considered 25, 30, 40 metres, when actually I think the groundwater scientists talk about deep wells being 50 metres or more at ECAN. A lot of private supply wells are not that deep, so people might think they have a deep well, whereas our community supply wells, I think Kelly could give me confirmation about like 100, and so there might be a different scale that people are talking about as well.
Yeah, but part of my question is just informed by the fact that some of our private well consents are being rejected, say on farms and elsewhere, because they're deemed to be too shallow. That's part of the input I know from Naitahu, from
right.
Obviously a partner, consulting partner in resource consents, but yeah.
So do you know what sort of depths the shallow was considered?
Like some of them are considered like 15, 20 metres. You just won't, possibly you won't get a new consent for a private well, yeah.
Okay, and that was because of
Well,
contamination issues?
Well, because of perceived, I imagine it's contamination issues, cultural concerns, particularly I know Ngātahu's got a strong input into that in some of the consenting processes.
Paul, you have a question?
Yes, one well that was, well above the nitrate level, reading the report, looks like you've contacted those people. So what were their thoughts, and what, have they, are they going to do any mitigation on their own well, or are they just, you know, what's their thoughts on that there?
So they do have treatment in place to remove the nitrate. So
they are putting treatment in?
Yeah, they do have treatment in place. And so we're sampling before that treatment to get an idea of what's coming from. And it is a shallow well. I think it was 6 point something metres or something from memory, which is, in anyone's definition is shallow.
Treatment, so.
Yes, yeah.
What do you know what the cost of that treatment would cost per well?
I don't know, but it depends on whether you want just your drinking water tap or whether you want the whole house to have treatment as it comes in. So, you know, do you want your shower water to also be...
So these people put in for the whole house, or you don't know?
I can't remember, sorry.
No, cool.
Councillor Phillip?
Thank you, Sophie. The results of these studies, are they being placed on limbs?
So I have made the study participants aware that is on their property file, and so there is a chance that they will be on limbs if that's something that I haven't actually seen for sure. That I haven't seen a limb go out with the information about the water supply, but I'm guessing that is something that could go on a limb. Yes.
Yeah, so if it's on the property file, you would expect it would go on to the limb.
We did have one participant who was thinking of selling, and they did ask to not participate further in the study. Not that their well was over a MAV or anything, but they did. I have made it as clear as possible in the letter that they signed to take part in the study that it is something that will go on the property file, so that is publicly available.
Right.
But I do guarantee some privacy of their details in the report, which, as you can see, I haven't given any road addresses. I do try to make it as clear as possible for the participants.
Yeah, so if it's on a limb, it's a flag for a purchaser.
Yes, but you could argue that maybe it's better to know and to have the drinking water results. And as you see, only one was over the drinking water limit. It's probably better to have those results and to try and be buying a property where you have to pay that cost to go get the water tested. And so actually some of these people see it as an advantage to have that water test to be able to provide for sale.
Thank you.
Nikki?
Sophie, we were just talking about the, excuse me, the 17.4 well in Cust, but is that the same one or a different one than the one I recall a few years back that had like 19.5 but wasn't being used? Is that the one you're referring to that you didn't put in here because it would skew the data? Yeah,
it's the same well. It's consistently tested over.
So the 17.5 now was the 19.5 before, so it's...
Yep.
All right. Yeah, because I wasn't sure about that. Also, with the lower amount of nitrate in the Swannanoa area wells, would you think that there might be some causation due to the undercurrent, the resurgent groundwater there?
Yes, so Swannanoa, it does look like a decreasing trend, and I am wondering if what the drivers are there. We do need to tease that out a lot more, and I haven't tried to look at a trend analysis, as I mentioned, because we've only got 4 years of data for those sites. So yeah, there is a question like what is going on in the water chemistry there, precipitation, the undercurrent. So yeah, it's something that I could really delve into when I get a chance.
That's quite fascinating. I ran into someone that I didn't realize. They mentioned that they were part of the study, and I thought, oh. And they're very happy to be part of the study and know what's in their water. But it's nice to get that feedback that, not everybody's, worried, but that it's a really good service for those that have been brave enough to put their hand up for it. And they look forward to getting more numbers. So, and so far they haven't been disappointed. So, yeah, thank you for doing the work.
So that was a question, wasn't it?
I asked my questions.
It's very good. Well, Madam Chair. Take note.
Thank you, Nikki. That's all right. Any other further questions? Would you like, Tim?
Thank you. Just with the sample areas, I know that in the past, down and around that sort of towards Silver Stream, sort of in those areas, perhaps not, but sort of sitting above Silver Stream rather than that catchment, there's been some real hotspot areas. Was this included? Were there results in there? How was that sort of tracking? I was really thinking immediately west of the Silver Stream catchment, and
I'm just trying, I'll just
we
pull
had
up
some
the,
particularly high ones, and I
so
know
would it be
there'd
the
been a
Earson-
nitrate buffer trial down in there. I was sort of interested to see the correlation of that. Yeah.
yeah, it would be the Earson sampling area. Yeah, I think it does capture the headwaters. I hadn't actually thought about it because it's based on, you look at the same thing, yeah.
Interesting. Councillor Blackie often tells me that it's not connected, that the Silver Stream is quite discreet as a catchment. It doesn't get waimakariri water, it doesn't get water from out other places. So it'd be sort of interesting to see the sample results from that area.
Yeah, but it would be connected to the groundwater from the Earson well samples, yeah.
Thank you. Right. Councillor Williams, you're going to move? Seconder? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Earlings? Councillor Williams.
Thank you for that report. I think it's actually quite important for us to know the situations with any contaminants or nitrates in all of our private wells, so it gives us a picture to build up for future. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is a really important study, and I'm really pleased that it has been ongoing for as long as it has, and I look forward to the data actually accumulating enough for us to be able to draw some good trend data from it so that we can be better informed for what people get when they turn on their taps. So thank you for that work.
Any other speakers? Right of reply, Councillor Williams. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carry. Thank you, Sophie. Thanks for your work. Now we up portfolio updates. We have roading from Councillor Redmond. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I keep saying, this comes round extremely quickly.
I know. Gosh, yes, it seems like yesterday.
Just a short report this month. The focus areas for staff have been marking out pre-seal repairs ahead of the sealing season. In fact, earlier in the week I thought the weather was looking like spring was here, but it's gone away today. The road maintenance contract tender evaluation is underway. Drainage works on reseal sites and the installation of soak pits to address drainage issues on rural roads is happening. Remetalling of unsealed roads is continuing, and there's also bridge maintenance work across the district. Staff are now focusing on designs for the upcoming construction season, and I do note that there has been some work occurring in Lees Valley with culvert upgrades, and in fact Lees Valley Road will be closed tomorrow, I think, while the culvert is installed. And
Is that weather permitting?
Weather permitting, yes. I assume that to be the case.
And conditions?
And staff have been in contact with residents up there on a regular basis, so there is good communication.
Good.
Other things that are happening, Main Power continuing to work on Smarts Road. There is a rugby game at the AMP Showgrounds on the 30th of August. Kingsbury Ave water main works are underway, and there is a new sewer connection manhole to be carried out in Pegasus Main Street. So there are things happening, and we are coming into a different season.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions of Councillor?
Sorry to drag the chain a little bit. Just wondering, I don't know if it's so much a question for you, Philip, or perhaps Jared. There's a tale of two unsealed roads on Main Drain Road between Bradley's and Plaskett or Ashworths versus Bradley's and Threlkeld's. Now, I know that the Bradley's to Threlkeld section is ECANS, but several SNAP Send Solves have done nothing, and it always goes to our guys, which it's not their road because I understand that it's stop bank. How do we actually give them a nudge, because it is really dangerous? It's nothing but deep rutted holes. I had to go over that to have a look at something the other day, and it took me, I couldn't go faster than 10 kilometers an hour, 5 kilometers an hour, and it wasn't possible to drive around them. So it's really bad because we had that road closed whenever we had Mill Road being done, and people used it as an alternate. So they don't seem to be interested in fixing it.
We can give them a nudge, I can give them a nudge at a staff level. And if it's an ongoing matter, I do know that Environment Canterbury councillors do occasionally come to the Oxford Community Board meeting, and it's another opportunity there. But look, at a staff level, we have quite regular meetings with Environment Canterbury, and I'll be sure that we raise that with them.
Thank you. And just for what it's worth, the section that has been done between Bradley's and Ashworth's is fantastic. It's holding up really well, so thanks for getting that done.
Thank you for that. Any other further questions? Thank you, Philip. The next one is drainage, stock water and three waters. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Thank you. The UV upgrade at the Hoka water treatment plant is progressing well, as expected to be completed in late September 2025. The Garrymere well drilling works are progressing, and the exploratory drill rig is complete. Work is complete. Further well testing is underway to confirm the yield. EQ4 well in Pegasus has been drilled, and testing is underway as well. McFedron's wellhead installation has been awarded to Chinnery Construction and is due to start on site shortly. The Ayers Street water treatment plant to the East Belt water main project is underway. HEB have recently started installing pipework in Kingsbury Ave. Wastewater. The Beach Road wastewater pump is being refurbished and is due to be reinstalled in the next 2 weeks. The septic facility in Rangiora wastewater treatment plant is due to be open to all contractors next month. The new inlet screens at the Kaipoi, Woodend, Waikuku Beach and Oxford wastewater treatment plants arrive next month and are currently planned to be installed by Christmas. New generators are currently being installed at the Rangiora EDSS pump station, Gladstone Road wastewater pump station, and Southbrook and Hoka and Garrymere. Drainage and stock water. The recovery works following the May 25 flood are progressing well. All 80 maintenance checks have been actioned and 5 out of 50 investigations are complete. An update report will be brought to the September UNR meeting. The rural drainage maintenance contract is still in the tender assessment and evaluation phase, and tonight the all drainage groups meeting tonight with Fred Brooks from Environment Canterbury and Sophie Allen from WDC will be speaking. This is an event to be acknowledge the efforts of all group members over the past 3 years. That's on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one note, and noting we're in public now, so don't ask me any questions. We have got that meeting tonight. As Councillor Williams pointed out, the drain maintenance contract is still under consideration, so it's a live tender consideration. So if you do get any questions, it's got to be a really simple answer. It's still being evaluated. Can't talk about it.
That's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Paul. Solid waste. Robbie, thank you.
So apologies to Councillor Williams and yourself, Madam Chair. You've heard most of this at last week's Community Board meeting. But yesterday week, 2 big meetings in Christchurch, the Joint Standing Committee and the Joint Landfill Committee. So it was pretty well full on. Just a brief update with regard to the Joint Standing Committee. as you know, we have around about $115,000 that we give to waste reduction projects that apply. Normally it's well and truly oversubscribed. This year staff in their recommendation, which we agreed to, has decided to, instead of partially funding some and hoping like heck they find the rest, that we actually fully fund up to a reasonable level. We're not talking big amounts obviously, but up to a reasonable level, what they're asking for, so they can actually complete the project without having to run around trying to find some more money. So there were 7 projects that were approved in that fashion. The Joint Landfill Committee meeting, just a reminder, public ownership is 50%, CCC is 38.9, WDC 3.9, Selwyn 3, Ashburton 3, and Huranui 1.2, and then of course there's a private ownership of 50%. So at this stage we're looking at 346,287 tonnes going through Kate Valley. Dividends paid this year is $19,650,000. However, that includes the Burwood Resource Recovery Park, and that'll be the last piece of dividend that we get from that, because it's obviously closed and finished and done. So I mentioned briefly about the tonnages. We have got decreasing rates of tonnages at the moment, quite significant. Some would say that that's a really good thing because we're diverting waste, but as we all know, part of it's the economy as well. So when the economy is not functioning well, we're not producing as much waste, but obviously waste minimisation is working. With regard to gate rates, Cape Valley is the cheapest Class 1 in the South Island. Yeah, you know, we're keeping our prices cutting edge, and as I say, we're the cheapest. There will be some considerable expenditure coming up in the near future. Cell construction, there's a budget of 6.8 million capital for the creation of Cell 5A, and there is a 16 million for next year, and that's to move the pad. Those that have been up to Cape Valley, they want to move the pad closer to where that new cell will be. There will be savings from transport and handling in moving the pad, so there will be that expenditure. With regard to emissions, as most of you are aware, I'm pretty sure I've told you before, we've had to install a second flare, which is, you know, it probably had to be done anyway, but it's a jolly shame. The main power supplied line is only capable of taking a certain amount, and we've been trying now 5-6 years to get main power to upgrade that line so to have more capacity for electricity to go down into the townships. That has not yet happened, and yet we're still producing all this gas, and it has to be flared, which, as I say, is a jolly shame. Hopefully main power will get, part of the hold up is of course they want to put a wind farm up there, and struggling to get the wind farm up and put in the stronger line. Something that is very exciting, and you won't be able to see this, it's an EV trial, so at great expense from Europe. We have bought an electric truck capable of taking 54,000 tonnes. Apparently it has a mileage of 600 k's, which you know, obviously is going to have to get charged every round trip. Things are being put in to make sure that that vehicle can be charged at the most appropriate time to maximise its use. but it's quite exciting to see us moving in this direction. But as I say, it's quite expensive, but it's very eco-friendly and moving in line with the rest of the, well, a lot of the country, not me. I can't afford an electric car. So you're aware of new landfill consents, Tycho Road, which is South Canterbury, and that got a consent. Woodstock was declined and is appealed. White Rock is submitted, and I heard recently that they are definitely going for fast track approval. Trans Waste is going to be submitting on the two local landfills. However, they will not be submitting in direct opposition. What they will be submitting on is that if we have to build a class 1 that's lined, that has gas filters and all the whiz-bangs, then they should have to do exactly the same to get their resource consent. So that's the argument that Trans Waste is going to be taken, and as opposed to, no, we're just opposed to this because we've got 100 years capacity. And of course, some of the applicants are saying that there isn't capacity. Well, we all know that that's absolute rubbish. So lifetime dividends paid thus far is $2,301.6 million. Obviously, that's split between Waste Management and the councils on the percentages I mentioned earlier. And there's stuff on health and safety. We've got a very good health and safety record. There's also further stuff with regard to Tiramoana bush and some of the issues that we're having as far as livestock incursion in there, and that we've had to employ on a part-time basis a hunter. And there is talk with regard to the leach treatment, and a comment was made that water, well, the leachate should be drinkable after some new plant is put in. I can't say I'm going to be the first to put my hand up, but apparently the quality coming out will be very high. Some of you will have noticed Kitty come into the room, so she's given me a wee note, most of which I've already mentioned, but of particular interest, Kitty and Don attended a disaster waste workshop with Huranui, ECAN and Civil Defence staff. Canterbury University presented the results of a disaster waste modelling exercise to indicate the volumes and types of waste we may expect in the AF8 earthquake, severe flooding or tsunami. We would identify possible temporary and permanent disposal sites for these wastes as a first step. We'll be working with wider stakeholder groups to develop a disaster waste management plan. And as you can appreciate, this is really important work, this disaster, because we're prone to it. It can happen, and probably will happen. We're definitely going to have an earthquake for sure. Hopefully not a tsunami, but we are also prone to flooding. So thank you, Madam Chair. That's my very, very, very long, for me,
Very
report.
good. It was very interesting. Thank you. Paul, you have a question?
Yeah, just a question on the gas they're flaring off. Have they looked at harvesting it, because there's a shortage of normal gases around the world, particularly in New Zealand? Have they thought about that for running vehicles on it?
Yep, they've trialled vehicles, they've trialled, but yeah, they're looking at electricity at the moment.
I realise that. So in the meantime, have they looked at harvesting it and putting it into a tank to save it?
Well, there have been numerous tanks. There's a monumental amount of gas. It's monumental.
I realise that, yeah, which means it's a viable thing possibly to do.
Well,
So.
I guess it could be if you're prepared to spend that sort of capital on putting tanks there. It's.
I noted the Christchurch Council used to do that for their run all their council vehicles on it years ago. So tanks are available because they're not doing it anymore in their new system.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you. Just two questions. So you're talking about the new EV trial vehicle that they're bringing in. Is it possible to, or rather, did I miss it and you said that? Is it possible to use some of that unusable at the moment power generation capacity that's having to be flared off with that second flare
I understand
to
they're
charge
doing,
it?
I understand they're doing that.
Awesome. Okay, and the other question is, with the dividends that you're talking about, the lifetime dividends, how are those used in the communities? Do you know?
Well, there's the community trust.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's separate from the dividend. So when we set it up, we created a community trust because the Waipara was affected by it. So far, we've given $1.6 million to the Waipara and Upper Amberley area. With regard to the rest of the dividend, it is dispersed to the councils, and obviously Waste Management gets 50% for their capital investment. So Kitty gets it into her budget, and there is a budget line for dividend received.
And that's waste minimisation.
Just a clarification, I think it actually goes into the general rate. It wasn't from, I'm going from memory, so I can confirm maybe, my recollection is it goes into it was funded from the general rate and it goes into the general rather than to the waste account. But it's the council.
Good to know. I didn't realise that we still, that we got that. I knew that Waipara in that affected community got some of the dividend money, which has been put to good use there, but I didn't know about the bit that came to us and what we did with it. So thank you.
Any other further questions? Oh, Tim.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've just got to keep looking.
Yeah, understandable. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that full and interesting report, Councillor Bryan. I couched this question carefully, particularly Cape Valley. I realise you don't want to speak to a submission, for Woodstock quarries. It hasn't yet happened. But will the general nature of the submission involve a rigorous questioning of what constitutes a tier 1 class landfill and a tier 2 or tier 2 level? Because one of the questions is that the extent of the applicant wants to be classed as level 2, but take level 1, potentially take some level 1, and there's obviously a major price differential between the two. And there's also the question of monitoring. If can you be one but the other at the same time? Will there be, is there room for that kind of submission?
Yes, there is, and we did discuss 1 and 2. The fact that they appear to be going for a 2, but they want a 1.
Yes.
And it causes an element of confusion amongst us as to, hang on, what exactly are you asking for here? And I'm sure that when the Minister considers this for fast track, he will have exactly the same question. Are you going for 1? Are you going for 2? And then if it goes back for reasons...
Because arguably that's the business model.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just a more general questions. Thank you, Madam Chair. Is that a couple of observations, and I will just question about Cust Recycling Centre. Do we have a time frame for that, and how will that be considered in months ahead? Is that a property group consideration?
So
that's where we go.
So staff have been asked to consider options for Cust. That technical work is still underway. I have to say, as an update, it's very challenging to try and find a site to make it work and Cust. So we'll when we're in a position to come back to the Solid and Hazardous Waste Working Party, staff can give an update. So it's a work in progress by staff to look at, as we were directed, to try and find an alternative location in Cust that we might be able to operate that facility. It's been very challenging.
Is there any community feedback, for instance, to the west of Cust, or is there any particular view of Cust that they want it in and around
We
Cust?
haven't actually gone out and formally sought any feedback from the community, but there definitely has been community feedback. So we're well aware of that, and there is the community became quite accustomed to having that facility, and we're quite disappointed when it had to be taken out of action.
And finally, it was just more of an observation. I wonder where to next. The old Swallownoa landfill site, where the plantation is, McHugh's Road. There are a lot of trees there around the edges that look like they're basically just about to tip, or they're not very deeply rooted in that old landfill site. And I just sort of bring that to your members' attention, because that's quite an issue, particularly the outside trees. A lot of them look like they're just hanging in there, and so if they're wind-blown trees.
News to me. So
Yeah, well, I know it's been raised in another forum about the plantation of those trees. They look pretty sickly, and it's just an issue to. Yeah, it's just an observation. So I didn't.
well, I catch up with Kitty every Friday.
Yeah,
and I'll
just from a purely face value, the outside of the trees are in pretty average condition on the outside, and you know what happens when trees fall from the outside. Yeah, they're quite exposed, the interior. There's quite a few houses around there.
Thank you. The final portfolio update is transport. Mayor Dan.
Thank you. Apart from the Woodian bypass tolling indication, which will indicate submissions that are open, which our council took a view on last week, it's been interesting to see the feedback since that time, and I don't think I've seen a great deal of support for tolling at all. And in fact, while I thought the community may be a bit split on the topic, actually what I've seen is a fairly resounding opinion there. So I do hope the government or people do have their say, and I do hope the government do take that on board, because it just makes no sense to toll that piece of the roading network, which is there to address the bypass, there to address safety concerns. Councillor Redmond and myself are due to go to Lees Valley in the next couple of weeks, so we did that journey probably 6 months ago or thereabouts, so looking forward to meeting residents in there, and thank the staff for their work in putting that together, and the ongoing communication about Lees Valley. It's a challenging piece of roading network through there, which frequently gets taken out with weather and related events, but feedback we've had, I think Don and the team do a really good job in their communication here, which we're often copied to, and can see the level of work that's going in to consider the plan that they would like to address their concerns there. So I'm comfortable with that, and looking forward to meeting with residents. On Saturday we did meet Mary Ann Budd. She wrote to council the end of last week around the speed hump in Silverstream, so we just were relaying to her what process is to be followed. Joanne, she would like to speak to the UNR meeting, which is scheduled in September, to address that, following a report that will come to UNR on that, following obviously the feedback from residents. Can we also send her a copy of the report, so she's got a copy of that, if you or the team could do that? And also, obviously that's up to the chair of UNR, but she would like a deputation to come and speak, so if we can arrange that for her. If you need her contacts, be in touch with my office. We've got Mary Ann's contacts, but I appreciated Councillor Redmond's time and Mary Ann's on Saturday to go through her concerns. Apart from that, I don't have anything else to update.
Any questions, Mayor Dan?
Is there room in the car to go to Lees Valley for the 2 local councillors?
I don't know. That's a question to staff about whether there's room for the local councillors to come out to Lees Valley as well. If there is, then yes. I'll leave Jared and the team to figure that out with you.
Be careful about carpooling arrangements on the trip.
Yeah, just gotta go back the same way that you go in.
Yes.
Some people
I would be.
Thank you for that. Okay, we go on to 7.1 report. We've already dealt with that, so we'll go on to 8.1 report referred from Rangiora Ashley Board. Do we have any thoughts on that? Councillor Williams?
A question on that. I was actually voted for status quo in the meantime because I understood that from the board meeting that was actually going to come back to the UNR for a final decision. Since then I've gone and a lot of it was a lot of conflicting comms from the residents. A lot of them never answered your questions and all that. So in the meantime I've been active and gone and sought what they want, and they actually want yellow lines around the whole cul-de-sac.
Was that appropriate
What's that?
to go?
Look, this is a recommendation here
Yeah.
from the community board. We're not
Yes.
getting into
Into the details.
relitigating this at this point, Councillor Williams. So it's what the board recommended last week. I've been involved in that with meeting with residents as well, and that's what a consultation will pull up. And if there's to be an extension of that, that would come out through then. I've met with the residents down there with the board chair. So that's what the board's recommended here, and that's what the consultation will bring about. So I don't think it's a case of us relitigating that.
We're just wanting questions at the moment, so we won't be getting into debate at this stage.
As I was saying before, I was interrupted.
Have you got a question?
Yes, I was thought and that it was coming back to the UNR committee to make a decision on it.
The report in front of you now is the report. So it is at the UNR committee now. So you were correct. It is being brought to the UNR for a decision. So we have a recommendation from the community board. We have staff here who are happy to answer any questions before you move into debate.
So just to be clear, the recommendation from the staff report was to install some no stopping around the cul-de-sac hedge in Highfield Lane. At the community board, there was a deputation from a resident who owns a property on the street. The community board considered the report and the recommendation, and their recommendation to UNR is that we retain the status quo. We do not install the no stopping.
Thank you. So I would have a mover and a seconder to receive this report. I'll move it. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Bryan. I'd just like to say that we discussed this and we had a presentation at Community Board, and I believe that we as a council have spent a considerable amount of time on this, and it was good to get the feedback that the residents do not really want to have no stopping signs there, and we're working to improve the conditions of that, and I really feel, and I did say at the Community Board, I think it's time to move on. So those are my views. Councillor Dan?
Just Joanne, just to confirm, the walkway that's being considered down there, where is that at in terms of process, and when is that going to be coming back? Oh, sorry, I mean the walkway. Footpath.
Yep, so that was an action from the workshop that we had with UNR, I think it was a month ago. And what we said we would do is go away and update the new footpath program, which is a piece of work we need to do over the next month to 6 weeks. Once we've done that, we will bring that back in a report to UNR before Christmas, probably November, assuming we have a meeting. And at that meeting, we'll be seeking approval for that footpath. We did indicate at the workshop that there is some unallocated budget within this year's current allocation, and we have provided the residents with an update that UNR were generally in support, but we need to go through the formal process. And then we will still allow for the design and get that priced up, so we're all ready to go after Christmas should we get that approval through.
Just to confirm that communication has gone to residents. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
Joanne or Shane, I note that your consultation resulted in a 50% response. the people who responded, were they in the cul-de-sac, which would be affected by the no parking provisions, or were they from a wee bit further away?
So we ended up getting 3 responses. The consultation itself went to the properties shown in the figure in the report, so it was the properties along the cul-de-sac. I will note, and this was presented at the community board, just so you have the full depth of there as well. I did get 2 pieces of feedback after the consultation had closed and after I'd finished my report, so I was unable to get it in the formal bit. One was from another resident along the cul-de-sac, and their feedback was the previous, sorry, this was a phone call, so consider this as sort of a summary of the phone call. The previous parking issues on the street have been resolved. They feel it's still safe for people to park at the end of the street. They are concerned that the new lines would prevent visitors from parking, particularly when they or one of their neighbors are hosting a party. So your quantitative question, that makes 4 responses to supporting no stopping, although requesting them to be extended beyond the recommendation, and 2 opposing no stopping. I ended up getting 1 further set of emails from a resident further down the road. That was, they did not receive the initial consultation letter, but did hear about it. I'll let you work out how you want to interpret this. Their first email to me, and sort of getting down to the focus of it, we are of the opinion that a mountain has been made out of a molehill, and the expense involved in adding yellow lines is not necessary. Incidentally, folk have often parked there prior to the addition of the studio, from their email. I then pointed them to the report that was going to the community board for consideration. They read it and then responded, I've looked at the report as you suggested and think that if the yellow lines would end complaints, then the minimal cost would be worth it. I wonder if that would be the case. So that sort of makes it 2.5 pro and 2.5 con.
Right, thank you for that.
Mayor Dan?
Look, I don't really have a strong view on this personally, but ultimately the community board have considered it and that's their recommendation. So I've attended a number of discussions with residents over the last number of months, or this last year, and had meetings trying to mediate, I guess, between what's actual and the concerns there, and trying to find a pathway, quite literally. And I am pleased that there is a walkway or path proposed, because I think that does address certainly most of the issues that were raised. I haven't, and there is a bit of mixed feedback in the area, and I no 2 ways about it. The whole way this came about was the real concern that was put in place, but there are other residents down there who are also undertaking business activities, and that's totally fine. That's what we expect in the area. Well, it's not out of character in the area, but it was the level that came into the lane. I did have a meeting with residents with the owner, and did ask that the owner of the business did consider encouraging individuals to park on Buckley's Road rather than using the lane. It's not always practical, depending on the age of those that are coming, but that was a matter that was being considered, but there was no legal ability for us to enforce that when we're under Resource Management Act requirements, and our staff have certainly looked at the response that's appropriate there. And there has been mitigations put in place because of it. But the response around the path, the response around the stopping lines, there's been a range of things that have been considered there, and I just want to acknowledge the efforts that our team put in there. As I say, I don't have a strong view about the yellow lines, but the board's clearly considered it. It listened to the feedback, and I understand there was deputation to the board meeting, and ultimately it's made a recommendation which is here. So I don't want to personally relitigate that. It takes me a lot to go against the board's recommendation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Just to be clear, I move that it accepts the report, the recommendation that the Utilities and Roading Committee approves retaining the status quo. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bryan, yes. Yeah, right. So just to be clear, so, Councillor Bryan, did you wish to speak? You got nothing to add? That's fine. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 8.2, this is request to approve consultation on a no stopping restriction for Coronation Street. Joanne and Shane. Thank you.
I'll take the report as read. This is following a number of complaints regarding access through the area. There is quite a high level of parking demand on Coronation Street due to the businesses operating in and around that area. So we've recommended that no stopping be considered from the intersection and across the frontage of number 31. This would allow us to go out and discuss this, consult with the businesses and the property owners in the area and get their feedback. We do think there needs to be care around the amount of no stopping that's installed, because what we do not want to do is encourage a whole lot of rat running through Buckley's Road and Coronation Street to avoid the traffic signals. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
So just to be clear, this is to approve consultation only. Any questions? Would you like to move? Who would like to second it? Councillor Redmond? Yes.
This came about, and I realise there's been a range of concerns expressed or views expressed, but it came about, I was approached by some concerned residents in this particular stretch, and when I went and did a site visit one day with the community board chair, I did experience exactly what was being expressed to me, and it wasn't a particularly busy day. It was on a Saturday, but I'd stopped my car outside 31, and I didn't have my brake lights. The car was turned off because I was waiting for the gentleman to arrive. At which point, and there were cars already in front, at which point I had a stream of about 5 or 6 vehicles which then stopped in behind mine, thinking I was then about to enter, which I wasn't. And eventually the frustration built and someone overtook, and I got the filthiest look because they thought I was in the queue. But it was just a confusion that's there. It's the width of this area, and I realise that we made decisions there for the right reasons at the time, but with the business that's there on, it's located there on Coronation Street, it has become a hazard there with that width. So taking out some car parks, now some of the residents would like it to be a lot further than that. When I was there, out came all the residents of the street pretty much, which I hadn't intended. But I got some very strong views that came through. I think a halfway house is where we've suggested here, what's been suggested here, and a consultation will throw out exactly whether or not that's appropriate or not. There was a view that it should go back to the cyclone gate. Well, I think that's probably just taking it a little further, but this at least would be a compromise that you can at least see whether that's going to be effective, and if it isn't, it can always be reconsidered. But ultimately, undertaking this will make a difference there, especially around safety, and also the fact that residents have also complained that vehicles are parking over their driveways, or frequently because of the build-up are over their driveways, so they can't get in and out, especially down that end. So I'm very interested to hear what the consultation will come back, and hopefully there's an endorsement today from the committee that we support the board's recommendation to go out and seek the views of our community, and that's all it's seeking. Thank you.
Councillor Phillip.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I support the recommendation to go out for consultation. I'm normally not in favour of giving up car parks, but having looked at the area, I can see what the issue is. It was also persuasive that the residents affected by these parks actually don't want them either. So I'm very much in favour of going out for consultation. I think it is a compromise. You don't want to, well, in my view, I don't see extending the no stopping area further down the stream, but certainly it seemed to me that these particular four car parks appear to be used by staff, perhaps working in the area for all-day parking, and I can certainly sympathise with the residents there. It is also a relatively narrow piece of road, and I can see how the issue that Mr Mayor spoke of came about. So I'm very happy to support the board's recommendation.
Thank you. Any other further speakers? Right of reply, Mayor Dan? All happy? All those in favour of this, to approve this consultation, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shane and Joanne. We go to any questions under standing orders? Nope.
Maybe I'll just take the opportunity to just confirm that clarification regarding the dividend for the Cape Valley. It definitely is general account.
Thank you for that. Right, we just have, I just would like to note that we have a letter to be tabled, which you did get an email this morning. Have you all seen the letter? Have you seen it in your emails this morning? From the Pines Karaki Beaches Association with regard to the roundabout. Questions? Thank you. Philip?
Yes, well, could I request that the committee request a report on the topic of this letter?
Yes, certainly. Do we have a seconder for that? Okay.
Well, I think it's just general that we just, I don't think we need to second that.
Okay. Request report.
Staff action then.
The staff will action that. All right, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Right, so we now go to, we need to leave open business and go into matters to be considered for public excluded. So do we have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Bryan, Councillor Redmond, and Kay, can you turn off the, and could
Chair,